Now, there are some crucial issues affecting Indigenous Australians that are on the agenda right now. One involves a school in Alice Springs. Another involves Labor's plan to get rid of the cashless debit card, which many fear will create additional problems in Indigenous communities. But also there is the new push for the Indigenous voice, the advertising campaign that was started today. I showed you the full ad at the top of the program. Here's another look if you missed it.
I got a story to tell you. It's a good one. It's about how these people, the first people, got a voice.
60,000 years they've been speaking.
Had 363 languages.
But no voice. The whole nation did something about it. People called their friends and families. People talked about it on the streets. Everybody made a song and dance about it.
Is that story true?
It could be.
Yeah, the advertising has already begun. Let me bring in Coalition Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa, who joins me from Canberra. Good to talk to you again, Jacinta. I don't think any advertising campaign like that's going to swing your view in opposing the voice, but that ad's out, and the polling out today in the Nine Media newspaper showing that nearly 2/3 of people support a voice. Does that surprise you or please you?
Well, you know, there's lots of polling. Can you really trust polling these days? I mean, aside from that, you know, people like to lap up the soppy, but really to suggest we have never actually had a voice is a little bit insulting of the intelligence of the Australian people. We have had a voice for a long time. We've had representation in federal parliament since Neville Bonner first came to the Senate. We have had many individuals of Indigenous background who have been at the table to talk about policy, to implement policy, who are part of creating policy. You know, throughout the pandemic, we had Pat Turner regularly using her voice on television alongside the former Prime Minister, Scott Morrison. You can't tell me that there's no way we haven't had a voice and suddenly, all of a sudden, magically, Australians now have to vote to make sure that we've got a voice.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more detail. As you know, you and I talk about this all the time. I support the voice, but the government's got to do more when it comes to the actual nitty-gritty debate and getting detail out there. They can't just rely on this goodwill, I wouldn't have thought, as the debate gets a bit more focused. I want to talk to you, though, about a couple of real issues on the ground that are creating concern. One we've talked about before, the cashless debit card. Labor seem to be digging into this. They're going to get rid of it, scrap it, even though we're hearing directly from people in disadvantaged communities telling us that this cashless debit card helps to save their lives. Here's what Labor had to say, the acting Prime Minister had to say in Parliament today.
In seeking to help Indigenous communities in this country, we don't do that by stripping them of their dignity. And that's why the cashless debit card, which seeks to do exactly that, that's why at the last election we promised to scrap it, and we will. Because what it did was to strip people of their dignity.
Senator Nampijinpa does it right now. It's operating now. Does that card strip people of their dignity?
Well, if they actually listened to Aboriginal people in remote communities, they would find that that is in fact an out-and-out mistruth, a complete fabrication to suggest that that's in the case. I mean, there's a wonderful article written by ABC Kimberley and a Territory ABC journalist where they've spoken to Aboriginal people on the ground throughout the Kimberley and the Northern Territory who have specifically said it has helped them in their lives, and now they are fearful that it is going to be taken away from them. I mean, the fact of the matter remains, this Labor government came out with an election promise based on a farce, and they have to, they've told the lie in the first place, so they have to continue on with it, and it's getting bigger and bigger. And now that, they're saying they're going to scrap it, now they're saying they're going to actually extend it, and now they're saying they're going to introduce another card, which is apparently going to be bigger and better than the cashless debit card, but yet another form of income management. But I can guarantee it is the cashless debit card under a different name, because they realise that removing it from these people is absolutely going to destroy their lives, but they have to continue on with their farce. So that's what they're doing. They're digging their heels in.
Yeah, it's terrible to watch. And if just one family is hurt, one kid doesn't get fed, one woman gets injured, that's stripping people of their dignity, and they really should just go back to where they started on this one. There's a similar issue that you're highlighting. You worked hard to try to get some funding commitments for a school in Alice Springs, a public school, a government school, and you're suggesting that at this school you could have teachers and parents in accommodation there, effectively like a boarding school, so that the kids don't have to go back to unsafe environments. Now, it's pretty extreme, but you're dealing with some extreme situations there, and it sounds like a common sense way to try and help people get a decent education.
Well, yes, absolutely. Well, actually, it's an independent school. It's the only school of its kind in the country, actually. It's an Indigenous school that is set up to educate the children that live in the town camps on the outskirts around the Alice Springs community and some of the surrounding communities. Some of those kids have to do round trip of 80 to 100 kilometres a day. So that's, 80 to 100 one way and then back again in that evening. And the kids in the town camps come from very dysfunctional circumstances. We've got a situation in our hometown of Alice Springs where kids are running the streets in the middle of the night, breaking into people's homes because their homes aren't safe. So this would offer the opportunity for those kids to have somewhere safe to sleep at night, and also the staff. Some of those staff come from those communities, but some of those staff also come from dysfunctional homes where they can all be safely put to, have a safe place to sleep at night, have meals served for them and focus on education. So $8.3 million, I'm asking this government to support it. Yeah, let's hope that doesn't disappear in the budget cuts. It sounds like something well worth trying as we tackle these difficult issues. Thanks for joining us again, Senator. I appreciate it. Thanks, Chris.
Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa Price there, live from Canberra.